This is the Cape Wrath Trail. It's fantastic scenery. It's been a long day, quite tired. Very windy! It's the Falls of Glomach. This is the path, which is not a path. Very steep! The Cape Wrath Trail is around 230 miles long. It begins in Fort William and ends at the Cape Wrath Lighthouse, the northwestern tip of the Scottish mainland. It's a difficult and unmarked route through Scotland's magnificent, wildest landscapes, passing along remote valleys and over high mountain passes. It's not an officially recognised trail, and it's said to be the most challenging long-distance walk in the UK. It's also one of the most highly regarded backpacking routes, attracting hikers from all over the world. Me? Well, when I was much younger, I did a lot of long-distance walking, including many long-distance paths, but that was a long time ago now. Since then, my rucksack had stayed in the attic. Until 3 years ago, when I rekindled my interest in backpacking and wild camping. These days, I like to get out regularly to places like South Wales and Dartmoor. I'm not particularly young or fit, come to that, but the trail had been fascinating me and it had become a big ambition, so it seemed the perfect way to mark my 60th birthday. I walked the trail solo, camped every night. I was supported by my good friend Richard, who travelled up to spend 2 weeks in the area, met up with me a couple of times with supplies, and even collected me from the end to help start my journey home. This is the story of my walk, and it begins with the journey to Fort William. Okay, so these are my first steps on the Cape Wrath Trail, and this is the view across to Fort William, where I've just come from. Okay, so it's Monday at about 5 o'clock. It's raining heavily, but I just wanted to pause to show you the path. That's the path I've just walked up. That's the murky Cona Glen with the Cona River. And if I just pan round, this is the path that I'm following up into the gloom. And somewhere up there is where I'm going to be camping tonight. Right, end of the first day on the Cape Wrath Trail, and I'm in the tent, and I'm taking advantage of a break in the rain to record this quick video segment, because it has been really heavy rain all day, and especially for the last couple of hours when I was pitching the tent and getting set up. So that made life quite interesting. Right, so one day done, and it feels kind of strange still to think that I'm actually doing the trail, because it's been like just on a computer screen in front of me for months now. I'm really happy I'm here. I'm loving every second, even in the heavy rain. It was fine, I was warm, I was comfortable, the shoes are good, my legs good, my knee seems to be okay so far. I popped some more Nurofen tonight and I'm doing some stretches. So all that remains, now I've done this quick video, is to sort out the water for tomorrow morning's porridge and coffee, and do some more stretches, have a look at the map and go to sleep. Okay, it's very windy, so I hope you can hear me okay. It's Tuesday morning and I've just packed up my camp, and that's where I pitched.
my rucksack ready to go and my poles. This is the view down the glen. If I go the other way, there's a bit of blue sky up there. Look, blue sky. It was a miserable night, windy and rainy and stuff, but it's sunny now, so I'm really cheerful. Day 2, Cape Wrath Trail. Let's go. Okay, so another update. Oh, it's the end of the second day. It's been a long day. Quite tired. Anyway, I've come along this forest track for miles or so, it seems. Probably just about an hour or so. And I'm looking out for the sign of where to turn off to go down to tonight's camp spot. And here, do you see that little cairn there by the side of the trail? And that is the path down through the edge of the forest. It's a tiny path leading down to the bothy. Now, I'm not going to stay in the bothy itself, but I'm going to pitch quite close to it because there's a good water supply, and it's the end of a long, long day. It's good. I don't know if you can hear me above the noise of the rain on the outside of the tent. I hope you can. So welcome to Charles's laundry. This is my washing line, but everything's airing and drying up there. My base layer and trousers and cap and stuff. I've got clean, fresh stuff on in my sleeping bag, and this is my trash hanging up here. I'm at Bhuidhe. I've just pitched about 100 metres away from it. It's a really long day today, 21 miles and a lot of ascent over really tough ground, so my legs are very tired. I've just had a 5-bean cassoulet for my dinner, and I'm going to wash it down with a bit of oxo. This is the high life I'm living now. The good news is that tomorrow is a much shorter day. I think perhaps 10 or 12 miles, even though initially it's quite hard going. So I can chill and rest and have a much easier time of it tomorrow. But the scenery today was just amazing, and I was just so happy to be walking amongst it all. It was stunning. The final descent down from the pass from Glenfinnan was hard work, very slippery. I lost count of the number of times I slipped and fell over. Partly I think just I was getting tired. But I'm here in one piece. Everything's okay, my knee's okay, and I'm looking forward to a really good night's sleep. I don't think there's going to be any problem. Looks like I pitched my tent just in time, because I think from the weather forecast it's going to be getting quite rainy, and probably rainy for most of tomorrow as well. Anyway, bring it on tomorrow. Okay, it's Wednesday morning. The trail has really started to kick in. So I've come up from somewhere over there this morning, and situation report, I'm feeling pretty rough. Two things. Lastly, to tell you, yesterday, get your words out, Charles. Yesterday was a long, tough day. So my legs are
fatigued from that. There's not much of a spring in my step, and also there's a bit of a sicky tummy this morning, and so I didn't have much breakfast, so I guess my energy levels from fuel, food intake, are pretty low as well. So the two things combined, and I'm having to just get my head down and plod on. The good news is that today is a relatively short day, certainly much shorter than yesterday, so I've got plenty of time. I'm just going to sort of mooch my way along. Now, the weather last night was horrendously rainy and windy again. The tent was fine, but it means that the trails and the streams are all very wet, very boggy on the path. So I'm a bit worried about the river crossing I've got to do later on. So we'll get up there and see what's to do. Anyway, the weather now is okay. It's fresh. There's a little bit of dampness in the air, but it's fine. So I think we can safely say that the Cape Wrath Trail is really kicked in now. And I'm definitely feeling it. Hopefully with a nice easy day and a good rest tonight, I'll feel better tomorrow. Right, this is the river crossing above Chonais, and I just want to give you a panorama, see what it's like here. Blue sky. And I've just come from somewhere up there, and this is the river, and a little cairn on the other side amongst the crossing. Right, it's a bit windy, but hopefully you'll hear me okay. So after 4 hours of trudging, I finally arrived at this bothy, Chonais bothy. It's a beautiful spot, and if I just pan around, you can see the lovely Loch, sea Loch. Well, I've got to say, that was the toughest morning's walking I think I've ever done. Very tired after yesterday, tummy not feeling good, so I'm looking forward to a short afternoon's walk to the campsite. We're going to take a break here for some lunch and a rest, and then another 3 or 4 miles to lunch, from lunch till this evening. Oh, I'm knackered! Wow, that was a day, but sort out my hair. Didn't make much difference to it. I'm arrived at sorry, I'm feeling really happy. I've arrived at a pitch that I've seen online. Several people have commented what a nice place it was, and I kind of hoped I'd be able to get here tonight, but the way I felt this morning, I really wasn't sure how far I'd get if I just have to stop at Chonais and stop there for the night. But I've made it. I powered through, and I'm here, and I just want to show you this. Is this beautiful still stretch of river by these lovely cliffs. It's just idyllic, and I think other people have been here before. There's a fantastic smooth flat space, and it's nice and early, so I get a good rest tonight, so I'm really happy. Okay, so welcome to another episode in Charles's laundry. Okay, quite a day today. So this was the third day of the trail, and it was not the longest. It was quite short, 12 miles only, but it was certainly the toughest, and I'd hazard to guess the toughest day's walking I've had that I can remember. So this morning's walk was very rough going anyway. It's known for being a tough section, and it was very slow going, arduous, and
also, because we've had several days of heavy rain, the ground is extremely wet and saturated. Now that means that, especially in the peaty areas, it's very squelchy to walk on, very tiring to walk on, and also it's very slippery. If you're on a slope, it's very easy to lose your footing and skid rather ungraciously. So although today wasn't huge miles, it was very hard going, and whilst I'm on it, the last mile or two up to the Carnach River, which is where I'm camped now, a very, very narrow ravine. I ended up stowing my poles because I couldn't use them anymore. It was too narrow a path on the edge of the river, so that was a bit scary. Anyway, this is the Cape Wrath Trail. It is tough, and boy, today was no exception. Day 4 on the trail. Whew. So, today we started at the Carnach River, climbed up the pass, very steep pass, dropped down to Barrisdale, and then from Barrisdale swung around and walked along the shore of Loch Hourn to Kinloch Hourn, which is where I'm camped now. So main news, the weather is still wet and windy. So this is like the 4th day in a row. I haven't taken off my cagoule all trip so far. I think I took off my overtrousers yesterday once for about an hour. So it's just wet, and the ground is still saturated, soggy, and sort of slippery with puddles that you just splash through. So my feet have been wet all day. So it's been pretty grim walking conditions, you know, head down into the wind and the rain. So I'm pitched by the river at Kinloch Hourn. It's soaking wet, it's still windy. It's now 6:30, I'm chilling, I've done my stretches, I'm in my sleeping bag, I'm warm and comfy. I'm happy now, I've got some food in my stomach. So tomorrow is a big one because we go over the highest point of the trail, the Falcon Ridge, and then I go down to Shiel Bridge, and hopefully Richard will be waiting, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Okay. Let's talk about Friday. Thursday night was incredibly windy and rainy and miserable. Chris, who turned up at the same place that I camped just after me and had asked if he could walk alongside me on Friday, happily said yes. But he was worried about the river crossings, and that sparked a worry in my mind as well. So I woke up at like 4 in the morning thinking, what alternatives are there? And in the guidebook there is an alternative route that avoids the high mountain pass and I think 3 potentially difficult river crossings. So when we got up nice and early for a 7:30 start, I talked it with Chris, and he was quite happy to go for the sort of low level alternative. It's a longer route, it was over 20 miles, but not quite as challenging, and we did that.
Okay, so I took a photo, but I want to do a quick video as well here because this is another big milestone on the trail. It's the Falls of Glomach behind me. The highest waterfall apparently in Britain, 100 meters drop. And the path follows the steep side of the gorge. And I have to say, it's got me a little bit nervous. So I've got a golden rule to myself. I'm going to keep looking where I'm stepping. If I want to stop and admire the view, I will stop somewhere rather than just not look where I'm putting my feet. It's just a bit slippy after all the rain we've had lately. Anyway, it's a stunning place and I'm loving being here. Okay, it's Saturday, about 4:30 in the afternoon, and this is the path that I'm heading up over a steep pass towards the stop for tonight in bothy. I just pan round. This is where I've come from. It's a bit bright, but there's a lovely loch down there and the Falls of Glomach. So the weather is breezy and dry and there are some spots of blue in the sky. It's true. So it's much nicer weather for walking. In fact, to be honest, it's perfect weather for walking, so that's really good. Bad news is I've got a steep climb of about 1,000 feet over the next Bilach or Col mountain pass to get to tonight's stop, and then it's a few miles the other side, so I've got a couple of hours tough walking to go, but this is the Cape Wrath Trail. It's fantastic scenery. Whew. So an hour later I've made it to the top of the pass, 1,000 feet in an hour. That's pretty good with a full pack. So just to prove it, there's a cairn showing it's the top, and that's my next valley I'm heading off to, where the bothy and the lake is. And behind me is this amazing scenery you can just see in the background. The mountains looking magnificent. Let's go and find somewhere to camp.
Okay, hello again. I've just given my food a bit of a stir, and I've got a cup of OXO waiting for me. And so I'm going to give you an update on Saturday, which was a good day actually. So the path was quite pleasant to start off with, up through woodland, and then a very steep climb up a valley and over a pass, which took quite a long time, towards the Falls of Glomach. So I carried on up over the pass, and as I carried on up, the weather cleared, and although the climb had been very steep and quite arduous, the views at the top were stunning. And then it was quite a long descent down to the top of the Falls of Glomach, and I had been quite nervous about this part of the walk, but got down it okay. The falls were awesome. The gorge is incredible, but by the time I got down from the gorge towards the main river, where there was like a double bridge where I sat and had a bar of chocolate and a rest, it was 3 o'clock. So it was very slow progress, especially in the gorge. So reached the bottom at 3, had a bar of chocolate and a drink of water, and then I walked up the lovely glen alongside a lake for 4 miles to the head of the glen. So then there was a 1,000-foot climb up a pass, which I polished off effortlessly. It took me an hour, which I was quite pleased with actually. And then the sun had come out more and it was absolutely magical. So I was in high spirits as I headed down towards the bothy, even though the path was a bit messy, and I took a tumble about half a mile away from the bothy. Got a bit wet and muddy. So I've decided to camp, and I'm just in front of the bothy, nestled next to a small patch of woodland. So that's the path I've just come down, and I've just gone over the coal after Loch Carnach. And if I pan round, that's the view of the next glen. It looks really nice, and there's a track winding its way up over the coal. I'm not going to be taking that track, I'm going to be turning right. This is a significant moment on the trail because if I just bend down to the maps, the bottom of these two maps is the map for the southern section of the path, and I am there, which also means that I am on now the map for the north section, because there's a little bit of an overlap. So that's me. I've just walked along the coast of Loch Carnach, very, very pretty in the sunshine. So I'm going to go down to this junction and then head on north. I'm going to go up here to a mountain pass, Bhuidhe, and from there. Anyway, so that's got to be a milestone on the trail, moving from the south map to the north map. Excellent. Right, so welcome to today's update, which is not from inside the tent for the first time, because the weather's good enough that I can be outside for this. That's really good. So today was a day of two halves, I think we can say. I woke up and it was beautifully sunny and warm and bright blue sky, perfect. So it was a real joy to get up and lifted my spirits hugely. And the path initially was fine, and then it gradually got less and less distinct and more vague until it pretty much disappeared. So for the next 2 hours I was working my way up the side of a valley towards the pass with no path at all, very rough going, very wet underfoot, and really hard work. So it wasn't the finest afternoon, and the pass when I got there was a bit nondescript, very bleak and windswept looking. Took the obligatory tumble on the soggy peat as I started to descend, no harm done, and then gingerly came down, crossed over by a broken wire bridge. Then I came around the corner and I saw this spot, and it was beautifully sunny and warm, so I sat myself down, had a little think, got the map out, and I realised that if I didn't pitch here,
I was in for another 3 hours at least of walking, and by then it was nudging 4 o'clock. So decision made, stay here. It'll mean that tomorrow I'll get to Kinlochewe late afternoon, not lunchtime, but that's really not a problem. And I'm just reminded that I'm here to enjoy myself, and if I find a nice spot to pitch and stay, then I jolly well will, and it doesn't get much better. Okay, so I've just come over the pass of the old pony track. The guides and logs said it was boggy and a bit rubbish to go over, but it wasn't that bad. Anyway, I came over the pass, definitely the right choice. This is a lovely clear track now, gently wandering downhill, and over in the middle of the horizon is our path for the next Coal mountain pass, and in the next valley is Kinlochewe. So that's a really good sign. I'm quite pleased about that. It doesn't look too far. Okay, it's very windy, so sorry about that, but I reached just another milestone on the trail. It's 12:20 on a Monday, so I've been walking for exactly 1 week as of now, and what do you know, it's raining again. This is the view, lots of dark clouds, but I'm not far from Kinlochewe now, so gotta keep going. Right, so this is today's update for Monday, and it was a day of significant milestones and a night that was significant as well. So it was a beautiful sight for me to pitch last night, but during the night the wind really got up with heavy gusts and kept me awake, and I had to go out at about midnight and check the pegs, several of which had come loose and needed to be supported with boulders to make sure they didn't come out again. No doubt my little additional poles in the tent really helped, but it was a brutally windy night. The tent though stood up fine, so if it can survive that, it can survive anything. I did eventually get to sleep and get a good night's sleep, and was quite warm actually. But I woke up quite early with all the weather, and about 6 o'clock got up, got going, and was on the trail at about 7:45. And to cross back over the river, I had to walk upstream to 100 metres to a wire bridge, which was quite an exciting way to start the day. But I was determined to keep my feet dry because my socks had dried out really well in the wind overnight. So did that okay, and then there was a nice gravel path all the way for most of the day today. And the weather forecast showed that it was going to rain, and it did. So it's been a wet day, not too long, but yeah, with some nice surprises on the way.
Okay, so this is the update for day 9 on the trail, and it's Tuesday today. This update would have happened about half an hour earlier, but I've spent that long trying to set up the camera inside the tent. Anyway, I'm camped at Shenavall bothy, which is a quite well-known bothy because it's in an amazing situation with stunning views across a beautiful valley to magnificent mountains the other side. So today dawned bright and sunny and gorgeous. I was at the campsite in Kinlochewe, so I kind of waited until 7 o'clock before I made any noise and started to stir, and had the luxury of going for a shower this morning and freshening up and picking up my clothes from the drying room, and it was all very civilised. And I had use of a picnic table to make my breakfast and porridge and coffee and stuff whilst I packed up. But with all the faffing about and showering, it was 9 o'clock till I hit the trail, which is unusually late for me. And I'd checked the weather forecast, and rain was forecast for sort of late afternoon, so I was kind of wanting to get a move on. And for the first mile or two, my right knee was more troublesome than usual. I'm wondering if it's because there was quite a long sustained downhill, quite steep downhill the day before. I hadn't done much stretching at the end of the night before, or whether it's just old age, but I had to run it in gently. So I warmed things up and then had a good stretch after about 45 minutes of walking. That seemed to do the trick. You can probably hear the sound of rain now, so I'll speak up and hurry up. Anyway, it was a lovely morning's walking, bright sunshine, blue skies, on very good tracks, lovely scenery. But about midday, as I got to Loch it started to drizzle, and its path went uphill over very boggy ground. And the rest of the day was spent on very slow, hard-going paths, quite tortuous progress with intermittent rain. Anyway, I made it to Shenavall bothy and I've set up my tent just outside the bothy, and I'm all set up and going to get my tea on in a minute. I've done my stretching, had some trail mix, and looking forward to a good sleep. And tomorrow is Ullapool. Hey! So this is the update for day 10 on the trail, and that started at Shenavall bothy and ended up at Eircill, where I got a lift with Richard into Ullapool. Now, the weather overnight had been very, very windy and very heavy rain. Luckily I was quite sheltered by the bothy, so the wind wasn't a huge problem, but it had been very, very wet overnight. So the path up from the bothy was quite steep and hard going, a bit of a tough start to the day, and it kept climbing relentlessly. Even when the steep bit had been done with, it was still climbing over very rough ground, so it's very slow going. On top of that, it was still very windy,
and still squalling showers. Luckily they're coming from behind me, but it meant that all the keeping a balance when the gusts of wind was quite tricky, as well as route finding over the terrain. Anyway, we made it, eventually picked up a Land Rover track, and that led a long descent down into the next glen. I took a bit of a breather there, refueled, checked the map, because that was about halfway through for the day, and then set off for the sort of final 5 or 6 miles. And from there on the path continued a very steady, relentless climb, but the views back over the mountains were stunning, and I kept stopping to take photos. There's quite a lot of photos to share. So a slow, steady climb. Gradually the weather was improving. Occasionally I get caught out with a squall, but at one point I put my sunglasses on because the sunshine when it broke through was quite nice. So after about 4 miles, reached the top, met a lady who was walking the other way, who was nice to have a quick chat with, and then the path effectively plunged down into the next valley. Now from the top, I think I saw Richard in his van, sent him a message to say I could see you, but it took well over an hour and a half to actually get to the van because it was quite a slow, steep and convoluted descent. Eventually got down to some meadows which I crossed, and then a very nice tree-lined sort of avenue of a road that brought me out to the main road. From then it was a kilometre walk up to where Richard was parked and waiting, and it was very, very good to see him there. And he drove me up to the campsite in Ullapool, which is where I pitched. So it's Friday morning, it's nearly 8 o'clock, and I'm just sat outside the cafe in Ullapool waiting to pop in for a quick coffee and a bit of breakfast before I hit the trail again. And I think my motivation is at its lowest at the moment. After a day of rest and relaxation, chilling, the urge to get on the trail again isn't particularly strong, and the pack of course is heavy again because I've resupplied and it's full of food, so it's quite heavy, and my knees are definitely feeling the difference. I'm pretty confident once I get going again and get into the routine I'll be fine, but right now the idea of staying in bed and relaxing and having an easy life seems quite attractive. Well, after my worries and doubts over breakfast, it's good to be back on the trail again, and this path has been the perfect way to get back into it. The scenery is incredible and the path is good and smooth and even, so I got my Cape Wrath Trail mojo back. Yeah, I think I feel a lot better now I'm on the trail again. So that's the path I've just come along. I'm knocking down Bothy. It's quite a cool, bright day, really good conditions. Not too wet underfoot. That's where I'm heading. That's my path. And somewhere over there is the schoolhouse Bothy, and beyond that, in the next valley, Oykel Bridge. might not be able to see it in video, but that black dot flapping its wings is an eagle, and I think it's hovering over the river. Obviously looking for its tea. So that's my first eagle of the trail. So welcome back to Charles's TV studio in the tent. It's Friday, day 11 on the trail. Yesterday was a rest day in Ullapool with Richard. So today I was back on the trail. The pack, of course, because it was refueled with fuel and meals and snack bars, was significantly heavier than it has been for the last few days, and I definitely got out of the routine of the trail. So as I was sitting in the cafe, a big part of me was my heart wasn't really in it, but had my breakfast and got going regardless. So the path was today a good path, a track, basically forest track and paths all day. So the walking was a lot better than it has been underfoot. But I would say that it was quite a featureless day, so it wasn't particularly interesting. But it meant I could get lots of miles ticked off. So I think I clocked off 24 miles today, which with the newly filled up pack is I'm quite happy with that total. Looking at the map and everything, I wanted to put in some more miles just to sort of erode some of tomorrow's activity, and apparently there was good pitching by the side of the river Oykel higher up, so I carried on. Fairly featureless track through woodland with occasional stops for people to go salmon fishing. Came out of the woodland and into a nice cattle farm, and as I did that I saw a golden eagle hovering over the river, obviously looking for some fish for its tea, and just circling and swooping, and so I stopped and shot some video of that. Not sure if it came out very well, but anyway, to spend 5 minutes watching a golden eagle circling was a real highlight of the day, if not the trail so far. So my energy was beginning to get a bit low, but I stomped on, and eventually I found this beautiful spot by the river Oykel, which is a salmon fishing spot. This is very
Well, it's taken me a while to get the camera out of my pocket because it's inside a bag, inside my trousers pocket, inside my over trousers, because it's pouring with rain. But I wanted to capture this. This is the path, which is not a path, along the side of the lake. Guidebook just says follow the side of the lake and just stay low. And this is where I'm going, somewhere over there. I'm about 4 kilometres from the start of a decent road. So, oh, there's a bit of blue in the sky. Right, it's still raining heavily again, so I'm going to put the phone away and carry on building. That's where I've come from. That was a really, really tough afternoon. No path, very uneven ground, very wet, very slippery. Horrible, horrible, horrible! I will not be doing that bit again in a hurry. But hopefully, I'm on a bit of a path now, and this will take me down to a lake and tonight's camp. Okay, so today's update for day 12 on the trail, Saturday 21st of May, excuse me. Whew, what a day. That was the toughest day on the trail. I know that the second or third day I was feeling very ill and the going was really tough, and that was a difficult one, but today I did around 20 miles. And I would say half of that was on terrain where there was no path. Very boggy, uneven, lots of peat, bogs and hags to navigate my way through. So the path rose up and the views opened up, but before too long the path deteriorated. Although it was there, it was absolutely saturated. Involved a lot of weaving around up and down as it ascended and descended past streams. Quite tortuous, slow going, and that took forever. After a while, a path joined in from the right, a well-maintained gravelled sort of Land Rover track, and after that, for the next few miles, the path was a lot better. But the weather was closing in, and as I approached a lovely corrie with a tarn in it, the path just disappeared amongst boulders and hills and very small sort of lakes, which made navigation horrendous, and I was not having much fun. Now the next 4 or 5 kilometres were awful. There's no two words about it. So I had to descend down to Loch side, and the path basically says follow the side of the loch. There's no path there at all. You're basically hugging the shoreline and scrambling around. It's very slippy. And when you get up to the head of the loch, after a couple of kilometres of this stuff, then it's take a bearing, straight line for another 2 kilometres of squelching uphill over really rough ground to finally find the path that leads to where I am now. So by that time it was 5:30, 6 o'clock when I usually wanted to strike camp, and I was still slogging my way through peat bogs, slipping and sliding and disappearing up to my ankles in smelly peat. Anyway, we finally emerged and found the path that ran down the side of the loch. I knew that there was a place to pitch here because other people had used it, and but I was a bit worried about the wind because it's in a bit of a wind corridor. But when I got here, it was still and quiet, and it's a good pitch, so I stopped at 7 o'clock. Would you believe? So 11 hours in the trail. Okay, so it's Sunday. I reckon it's day 13 on the trail, and it's been raining all night and all morning. So
wasn't very easy to get out of the sleeping bag and getting out of the tent this morning. But I've just come over the pass and the loch is in the distance there. There is a lake there, honest. I've just taken a photo. This is the trail that I've been following for the last couple of miles down from the lake where I camped last night. So at the moment it's a heavy drizzle, I think I'd say. It's cool, no wind to speak of, so it doesn't look like the weather's going to change much this morning. But I'm doing well on schedule, and hopefully there are 2 more nights camping till I get to the end. So I just want to do a short little video because by my calculations I've been walking for exactly 200 miles at this point I've reached now. So that's a bit of a milestone on the journey. Right, today's update is going to be quite a short one because there's not much to say apart from yuck. I woke up to rain, got dressed and packed in the rain, walked in the rain, got to the campsite in the rain, pitched into the rain. It's still raining. You get the idea. But I managed 19 miles today, despite that. So I'm quite pleased with that, and that puts me on track to finish a day earlier than I'd expected. Sounds good. But the weather was a shame because it took away from, it must be stunning views and stunning scenery, but I didn't really get to see much of it. Just head down and putting in the miles really, which was okay. I seem to be quite trail fit now, so I'm ticking off the miles without too much trouble. No problem with the feet or the knees, that's good. But the path up over the between the two bothies today, between Glencool and Gendhu, was very steep to start off with and very muddy and slippery on the way down, so that was very slow progress. After that it's been tracks, and then I finished off with 4 miles on the road, just because there's no point going over the hills in this kind of weather. This is not the best place to pitch in the world. It'll do for now. I managed to get dry and warm. I'm having some nuts and snacking and a drink and warming up, and I'm going to make a hot meal for myself very soon and then sleep. Just been checking the weather forecast for tomorrow. It looks like it's going to be drier, so that's good news. But my clothes are all soaking and they're all hanging up on the washing line, trying to give them some air ready for tomorrow. So a good day in terms of miles, not a good day in terms of weather or enjoyment. Right, it is 12:30ish on Monday, so that means that I've now been walking for 2 weeks. So that's a bit of another milestone, and I'm walking up this here road, which is very pretty. But I'm rapidly approaching Sandwood Bay, the famous bay at the end of the trail where I'm going to camp for the final night. Just checked that the bus from the Cape Wrath Lighthouse to the ferry is okay for me to get on to tomorrow 11:30, so I'll camp tonight in comfortable range of getting to that bus for that time. And I'm walking up this road section, and I'm approaching the London Stores, which is a very famous shop. So this probably won't come out on the video, but in the far distance is a speck that is the Cape Wrath Lighthouse. After 2 weeks of walking in all kinds of weather, it's finally come into view. That feels good. Right, on to Sandwood Bay. Right, today's update is coming from outside the tent for once, and look at this view I've got. Just look at that view. That's from my campsite. My tent is here drying out, and I've got a nice bench, and I'm enjoying this view. This is Sandwood Bay, and to all intents and purposes it's seen as the end of the trail because it's a beautiful spot, and that rock stack there is the logo of the Cape Wrath Trail Guide and so forth. It's a beautiful, long, wide, sandy, golden sandy beach, hard to walk on, and this river here is fresh water coming from the Loch, so I was able to fill it with fresh water and come up. It's a bit of a weird moment though, because I'm so close to the end of the trail. It's just been my life for the last, well, not just 2 weeks, but months. I've been preparing and planning and obsessing and training for this, and I'm within half a day's walk of finishing it, and it feels a bit strange to tell the truth. There's a part of me doesn't want the trail to end because it's been such a rich experience. There's a part of me that thinks, yeah, I'm ready to finish, especially because the weather forecast for later this week isn't so good either. So luckily today has finished dry and warm, and I'm able to dry stuff out, lift my spirits. I'm looking forward to a beautiful night on this perfect camp spot overlooking a beautiful beach, listening to the sound of the waves and feeling quite satisfied. I'm a bit lost for words actually. It's not like me, but just come over a hilltop, and there in the distance is the Cape Wrath Lighthouse. So it's there. and it's what, 2 or 3 miles, mostly downhill. The heathland's not too bad to walk over. So I'm on the final stretch after so many miles and so much hard walking, finally getting there. It's a good feeling and it's a beautiful place. And just ironically, today is a beautiful day for walking. Cool, little blue in the sky, and no need for cagoule for a change. So we're ending on a high. So that was the story of my walk along the Cape Wrath Trail in May 2022. I'm back home now. I'm on a short walk out in the countryside to help my recovery of muscles and joints. And I keep getting flashbacks from an amazing adventure. I really loved doing it, and it was a fantastic achievement I'm really happy about. Certainly one of the finest walking experiences I've ever had. I want in particular to say thank you to 2 people for making it possible. Firstly, my wife, Sarah, because she supported me even though it wasn't really her kind of thing, and she didn't understand, I guess, why I'd want to do something like that. She was behind it and put up with it and looked after things at home for a few weeks whilst I was away, which was amazing. And secondly, my buddy Richard, who gets mentioned from time to time in the video, because he kept me motivated and helped with resupplying at Shiel Bridge and Ullapool, and even picked me up at the end to help me get back faster, which is amazing and a fantastic help and a big morale boost. So thank you, Richard, you're a star. I'm back home now reflecting on it, and I guess in hindsight I'd say to anyone, go for it. Make sure you do plenty of preparation, training, use good kit and know what you're about, because it is tough. But if you can manage to complete it, it's an amazing experience. You'll never forget it. I won't.